Så, välkomna tillbaka till sal 1 här i Sheraton i Stockholm och Stora Aktiedagen. Följer ni oss på sociala medier så gör ni det under hashtaggen Stora Aktiedagen. Vi fortsätter med ett nytt företagspresentation här och det är 2cureX och hoppas jag får min danska rätt där. Det är vd Ole Thastrup och CFO Maarten van der Linden.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I apologize that we will take this in English. That hopefully will make it a little bit easier for you than Danish. Together with me, I have Maarten van der Linden, who is our Chief Business Officer, and my name is Ole Thastrup, and I'm CEO and co-founder of 2cureX. Now, our tagline is because cancer patients are individuals. We will show you in this presentation that even though patients have been diagnosed with exactly the same disease, exactly the same stage, they are very different. They respond very differently. They also have different wishes with regard to treatment. And we want to convince you that 2cureX have something we can offer to help that today, not tomorrow. First, this is the presentation that we are going to provide to you today. We will start with some breaking news we will tell you about. We will tell you about, sort of in brief, what is 2cureX all about, and our main product being IndiTreat. Then we will walk you through the commercial roadmap until launch of our product, and here Maarten will go into more detail. But let me start about 2cureX. In brief, we actually have been around for quite a while. We were spun out of Carlsberg Research Center in Copenhagen in 2006. We listed last year at the First North Nasdaq here in Stockholm. And our proprietary technology we call IndiTreat have been tested and developed in more than 1,000 patients in different countries. And we are currently running trials in 3 major cancers. We'll show you about that: colorectal, ovarian, and pancreatic cancer. And that's being done in 3 different countries: Denmark, Germany, and the UK. In the same countries, we have active activities. The main product is, as said, called IndiTreat. And what it does is that it measures the drug sensitivity and resistance in the individual patient. It's doing it by us taking a small sample from the patient's tumor. And then we make thousands of microtumors that have exactly the same properties as the tumor in the patient. And you will see here 3 panels. The top panel, there you will see how the tumor grows as it does in the patient. That is how it will grow without any treatment. In the middle panel, we have added a treatment A. Unfortunately, the patient is resistant. You will see the tumor just grows as it did where there were no treatment. In the lower panel, that's where we want to find a treatment, which we have done there, that will not only stop the growth, but the tumor actually disintegrates. That's in principle what this is all about. So we matchmake between the drug and the patient. And we use existing drugs. So immediately after this test has been conducted, we can put the patient on that treatment. Then the breaking news. Breaking, it's about a week ago. We were out with information that 2cureX, together with one of our clinical partners, University Hospital Vejle in Denmark, we have got approval to start a trial within pancreatic cancer. A devastating cancer, I'll come back to that, where we have a completely new design of a clinical trial. A little bit more detail about this technology. As said, we take a tumor biopsy. In these patients, actually these patients have a metastatic disease, meaning that the tumor has spread to distant organs. If it's from colon, then in 95% of the cases, it spreads to the liver. So we take a small needle biopsy of the liver metastasis. And from that very small biopsy, we do these thousands of microtumors that you will see here on the slide. And then we challenge these with all existing treatments. That be treatments that are standard treatments, but also that are not. And then we will simply see which treatment works, which can kill the tumor, and which doesn't. And that is almost equally important to which treatment is the patient resistant. We will get that information up front, and then we can put the patient on the right treatment. This is a little bit what you have seen probably for 70, 80 years in infectious diseases. There, you're used to taking a small sample, and then you will put it on an agar plate where there are some drugs, and the drugs that will kill the bugs, that's the antibiotic that you will be put on. It's a functional test. So what this have done for infectious diseases, 2cureX will do for cancer. This is how they look, these microtumors. It's a very heterogeneous organization of a number of different components, exactly as we see it in the original tumor. And when we screen these guys, then it looks like this. This is a test where we, in the top panel, going over, you have standard treatments. That's individual drugs and combinations of 3 and 4 drugs. And going down, you have a number of patients. Now, if you were a patient, you would like to be in the green area, because these are the treatments to which the patient is sensitive. And certainly not like to be in the red one, because the red one, that's showing that that treatment is the patient resistant to. And what you should get from this slide is there's not a single treatment, even though these patients have been diagnosed with exactly the same disease, the same stage, there's not a single treatment that works in all patients. So here comes that cancer patients are individuals. And if we then go to one of our specific trials, this is the trial in colorectal cancer. Here, the patient will have to be enrolled. The patient will have gone through 2 lines of treatment, and none of them worked. So resistant to 2 lines of treatment. And that's what you see in the top panel. So the patient comes in, and we can then see, yes, the patient is also resistant in the IndiTreat test. Very important, obviously. And then we go to the lower panel, where we will, beyond the standard treatments, we will treat, or we will test the patients with what we call offline treatments. These are approved drugs, but maybe not approved for colorectal cancer. It could be another cancer. It even doesn't need to be a cancer. In this case, there was one treatment called TAS-102 that the patient is sensitive to. And you will see, I've just taken another one out here. It's a little bit difficult to read maybe, but you will see that treatment, olaparib, is a treatment that normally is used in breast and ovarian cancer. So the cancers we are in, as said, was colorectal, ovarian, and pancreatic. And here I will ask you just to have a look at how many of these patients, when they come in to the hospital, have been diagnosed with metastatic disease, and then the overall survival. Here, 21%, and the overall survival in colorectal cancer is about 63% precisely. Ovarian is in a very different situation. It's often called the silent killer. Unfortunately, 75% of the women we see, they have already spread, the disease have spread to distant organs, metastatic disease, at their first encounter with the hospital system, and 80% of them, they become resistant to the treatment. So a lower overall survival. The last one, the pancreatic cancer that we've just started, there 50% have are being diagnosed with metastatic disease, and you will see the overall survival is 3%. This is the deadliest cancer we have of all cancers. It's a terrible, devastating disease. We need to do something. We came out with this press release a week ago, and I had just this statement that launching clinical trials in 3 major cancer entities is extremely important for 2cureX. We've done this within a year, and that shows the broad applicability of our technology. So we look very much forward to see how we can help these patients. And I just want to show you this clinical trial. Without going into a lot of detail, but it is a unique design that we have got approval for. So the patients come in here at the inclusion site, and as soon as they get in, then all patients will go through an IndiTreat test. That obviously is very interesting for us, that the first they see of the hospital system is actually an IndiTreat test. They will have to be treated with first line. That cannot be changed. But if we look at the numbers, these patients, they will be treated with the standard treatments. That's gemcitabine and paclitaxel, or it could be a combination called FOLFIRINOX. However, only about 23% of these patients respond. So 80% will not respond. And these 80% will be in the lower arm. So what kills these patients is resistance. And that is the arm that we are going to help these patients with the IndiTreat test. And I would say that resistance have not been discussed that much. Most people say we would like to see what works, but it is equally important to challenge the resistance issues, because resistance kills people, efficacy will help people. So, and I should just mention that we start to see companies that are looking at resistance. I will actually recommend you to look at Scandion Oncology later, that is doing exactly that. Our product pipeline looks like this. The 3 major cancers that where we are in clinical trials. We are looking at other solid cancers, and we have a immuno-oncology project where we are in preclinical, but that looks very interesting. And you'll just see here on the top, we believe, or we are certain that we will launch the product in 2020. And we have actually a sound cash position because we went through the successful IPO last year and we received 30 million from the EU. So in that sense, we are on a good path towards a actually launch of the product. And that's you, Maarten, that needs to make sure that happens.
Yes. So, we, as Ole already mentioned in his part of the presentation, we have a solid connection with leading clinical centers, which we collaborate in our clinical trials, and also have a partnership with a patient society, digestive cancers in Europe. I think to give some more information, our management team, as you see here, and I would also like to point out, how the board looks like, which is a professional board with a lot of people with capabilities from the industry, and to help us make the commercialization of IndiTreat a reality. So, regarding some of the news that we told you earlier in the presentation, what also happened is that we actually achieved the CE-IVD marking of IndiTreat. This is an extremely important step for IndiTreat, because this opens up the market in Europe to us. So we can actually launch this in most of the countries in the European economic market. And how that market look like is that with all the different areas, the metastatic pancreatic cancer, metastatic ovarian cancer, and also colorectal cancer, this is 377,000 patients annually that are eligible for an IndiTreat test. This accounts to approximately a total available market of 11 billion svenska kronor. So this is a huge market potential, of market opportunity to bring a product like this to the market. And our CE-IVD marking is, of course, a very important step towards that. To take you through the journey so far. So what we can say is that we are on track for success. The things we said we would do in 2018, we have done. We have established the structure around IndiTreat as a test to individualize treatment for patients. We have IP'd the technology, so the patent protection of the technology is rock solid. We have started the clinical trials in the 3 cancer areas: colorectal cancer, ovarian cancer, and pancreatic cancer. And we also have a very strong competitive profile through our CE-IVD marking. At last, the partnerships with the leading hospitals we have established is very important for our market entry, that we have already some of the partnerships within the clinics. We are going to launch, as said, in Denmark, basically Nordics, Germany, and the UK, and we have planned the launch for 2020. How does that look like if we go through of all the different things? What on this slide, what you can see in green, that is all the things that we have done. So in 2017, get the IPO in place, make sure that we are successful there. And then in 2018, we have communicated our goals in the memorandum, and we are on track with everything we set there. And what you see in blue, that is the last part, which we will tell more about at a later stage, is expanding our clinical partnership, some of the hospitals in the countries that we want to collaborate with. If we then go to 2019, the theme for us there is to secure commercial readiness, making sure that we can launch in 2020. And there's a couple of things we still need to do there. Is we need, of course, the clinical trials that we have ongoing to make sure that they run successfully and also to bring out results there. And also make sure that the launch readiness in the different countries is in place. At last also, we would like to work on the standardization, the quality of quality in our lab. For example, ISO 13485, which is important for the lab. And then in 2020, launch of IndiTreat. So this is actually one of the last slides. There's a lot of text on this, but what we would say is IndiTreat does not predict but measures the treatment effectiveness and resistance for the individual patient. A very important message. We identify the treatment to which the patient is sensitive or resistant. And second, we can generate from a small tumor sample thousands of microtumors and expose them to existing drug therapies. So what you can, if you put all those things together, IndiTreat uniquely complements existing cancer care procedures. Our vision is that we are passionate, of course, to bring cancer treatment the right cancer treatment to patients, but establish IndiTreat as a global standard for predicting an individual cancer patient's response to different drug therapy options. So this is what we aim to do. And by this is actually the last slide. We would like to welcome you, of course, to come to us for questions later after the presentation. You can also go to our website to look at everything. And there's also a movie on the working mechanism of IndiTreat. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ole and Maarten. We're going to start off with some questions right now, actually. So,
good.
First of all, just to get it clear, because I'm no doctor, a patient come and they have some sort of cancer, and then your technology comes into hand to see what type of medicine they will use to cure this cancer. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. What will happen is that they will be tested, as said, with a broad panel of treatments that could be in the hundreds. And then we will select the one to which the treatment is sensitive, and also to the ones in which the patient is resistant. And just again pushing that with the resistance a bit, these patients that have metastatic disease, that is the latest stage in the cancer disease, they do not have much time. So we should not waste their time by treating with an ineffective treatment.
That was my next question, because how long does your test or analysis take? Because it's probably very urgent to get started with the medication.
Sure. It will take, if you remember my slide where I showed how it grows, the actual test will run for about a week. I think I had 11 days there, and the full test will take 2 weeks.
So during this time, the patient sit and wait for until, or what do you do during this?
First of all, it depends a little bit upon how the sample has been taken. Often the patient will not be treated until 2 or 3 weeks after the actual diagnosis have been made, and so 2 weeks is, according to the oncologist, not a problem.
Okay.
And I said we've also been used to that with the infectious diseases. There it also takes a little bit of a time.
Let's have a look. Maarten has said something about the patent situation was rock solid. How many years of market exclusivity do you have?
We have exclusivity until 2035.
All right, and you're hoping to launch around 2020.
Sure.
All right. And a common question in pharma is like, do you have any partnership going on with big pharma, or how do you think they're going to take this product to market yourself, or in a partnership with bigger firms? How do you see on that point?
Well, for now, we have established us in each of the countries where we're going to launch. So therefore, it will be launched through our clinical partners by 2cureX. That's not to say that we will not seek partnerships. And that's some of the discussions we have at the moment. Would there be some of these territories where it makes more sense that we have a partner that helps us? But in the major markets, actually, if you just look at the UK, Germany, and the Nordics, that is about 30% of the European market. And there we have presence.
An interesting question could be like, how do you price this kind of product?
Well, there are similar products on the market that have a certain price level and have been on the market for some years. So we have looked at that. We have analyzed, the different price points, and know that where we will be with our price, that is a market acceptable price level. Obviously, we are also very much engaged with talking to payers. So, and do research on how is it going to work in the different countries, because reimbursement or market access in Germany, Nordics, and UK are three different things. So we also know a lot through those discussions.
And you touched on that. The competition out there, is there other life science firms have similar projects in their pipelines?
Well, the technology, we did not invent the 3D diagnostics or the working with organoids. But we have taken it further, and so we see some companies that are in the same area. So we can definitely, we are not alone. So, and that's really good, of course, to have competition. So we see some similar tests on the market.
But would you say you're in the front of your competition?
I think where we have taken this as a CE-IVD test and for clinical application, yes.
All right. We got a few minutes over here. If there's any question in the audience, yes, I will repeat it. Try to. Can you clear out the business model? Are you selling per treatment, or how the business model look like?
The business model is that we test a patient for drug sensitivity. So we are selling the test, and then we are testing with a panel of treatments, and we send out a report to the individual oncology that shows where is the sensitivity. So this is how we do it.
Any more questions? You got one there. The approximate price, what's it going to be? Straight on question.
Yeah, we can't give you the exact price now, but as Maarten says, that's something that we are looking into, and we will have to sort of ensure that we have prices that are somewhat similar on the different markets. So we will need to wait a little bit coming that out, but it is a competitive price.
One hand over here.
Yes, your goal is to start up like testing centers, so patients will go to you and you will do the test. And then,
it's actually going to be like this. We have a central lab structure where, let's say, a Danish patient will visit his or her oncologist. The oncologist will order a test. We will send a sample collection kit to the hospital. The sample is collected there. The sample goes back to our lab. We will test it, and then via email a report comes back.
one more question. Regarding the clinical studies, you just started, I noticed, like 2 weeks ago, and you said the test will be finished already next year, and also the market launch is 2020. Why is the speed so high?
The question was why the speeds from you started your testing 2 weeks ago and you're hoping to launch 2020. How can you handle that?
Unfortunately, it's not quite at fast. I mean, we actually started the colorectal cancer trial in 2017. So it's the pancreas trial that is starting now. So when we launch the product, then it will first be within colorectal cancer, then ovarian and pancreatic will come after that.
Yeah, exactly.
I see one more hand over there. Yes.
Sure.
If I understood the question right, it's like right now you got your own testing lab. Going to have multiple testing labs around the globe.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge problem to send the material. That can be done very fast. We have decided that we will have testing labs in each country, but in the larger countries we will have more than one. And it's not a big issue to set up a test site. Now, today we have in Denmark, on Copenhagen, Hamburg, and in Birmingham, the UK. We will have more test sites coming up.
Any more questions?
Can I give a comment? When you have a cancer patient like these patients here, time is not that important for the oncologist or an oncologist. But start with the most obvious treatment right away. And when you get the test results 2 or 3 weeks later, you can change. So it's not a matter of losing time. Start with the most obvious, but then you can change. That is actually the same you do the antibiotics. Take a sample for testing for antibiotics, you start with the penicillin or something. But if it appears that the bacteria are resistant against penicillin, you change to another one as soon as you get the results. So you don't need to bother that much about transportation of 1 day or testing of 2 weeks, because they're already in treatment.
All right. That have to sum up for today. And if you have any more questions to Ole and Martin, you can take them outside here in the company corner. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.